Welcome back, readers, writers. This week we've been talking all about fiction. We've been dissecting fiction into its elements, its parts and pieces, like characters, setting, descriptive phrases. Today you're going to be reading a little bit of nonfiction, but looking at the pictures and finding out about a national park so that you can describe it, so that you can use descriptive phrases to tell what it looks like or what it might feel like to be there. Today you're going to be choosing a national park to read about, and then I would like you to turn what you know or what you see into descriptive phrases like we've been writing all week. Phrases are two or more words that work together to paint a mental picture. Before we get started, I'm just going to show you this book. This is a pop-up book. So when I open it up, I see the first national park it shows is Everglade National Park, and I can't even fit it all in my camera, but this is Everglade National Park. We are going to be choosing a national park today to look at or read about and then describe. The next park that it shows is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I don't know if you can see this. It also shows me the Grand Canyon. So these are all different national parks that are located all over the United States. We talked about physical features yesterday, and a lot of these national parks contain physical features, like the Grand Canyon or the Rocky Mountains. I wrote a poem with descriptive phrases about Acadia National Park. I am from Maine. I'm from an island that's right about here, and I grew up in and around Acadia National Park. This is what Acadia National Park looks like, or what a lot of the landscape looks like. I read about Acadia National Park, and I looked at some pictures and decided that I thought these trees looked very scrubby. They looked like brushes to me. And so a descriptive phrase that I decided to come up with was scrub brush trees. Or I said spiny scrub brush trees. And I used that descriptive phrase in my 3D poem. So you're going to be creating something like this today after you read about a national park, come up with a few descriptive phrases, and then make your 3D poem. So I'm going to show you how to get started. The first thing you'll need to do is pick a national park from the list and get a fresh piece of paper. On your piece of paper at the top, you'll write the name of the national park. If you choose Everglades, you write that. I chose Acadia, so I wrote it at the top. Underneath that, you are just going to be recording some things that you see. When I looked at my book about Acadia National Park, I saw trees. I saw ocean water. I saw some of these steep cliffs near the water. So while you read, you'll take notes on the pictures that you see, what you read about. And then, or during, you don't have to wait until after, you can do this during your reading, try to come up with some descriptive phrases that say more about trees. So I said, those trees looked very spiky to me. They looked spiny. And so my descriptive phrase for trees was spiny scrub brush trees. My cliffs, after looking at them, I thought that they looked sharp cliffs. This is still a descriptive phrase because it's 2 words. It can be 2 or more words. For the ocean, I know that the ocean in Maine is cold, so I said the cold ocean is an upside down sky. I said it's an upside down sky because sometimes when I look at the ocean when I'm home, it looks like the sky is the water. So, after you write down your descriptive phrases, then you're going to create a picture that shows the things that you wrote about. So I wrote about trees, the ocean water, and cliffs. So my 3D pop-up poem has 3 different parts. What you can do is what I did here. So you would get a fresh piece of paper and draw a scene that includes the things that you described. Then you would get scissors and cut out some parts of it without cutting it off completely. So what I did here was cut a squiggly line from the tree and I kind of bent it down so it pops up. Over here I cut into the ocean and I cut along the coastline, but I didn't cut the whole thing off. So then I was able to glue it down onto my paper and bend it back so that I can see underneath. And then here I cut a squiggly line, but again I didn't cut it completely off. I just cut into it so that I could bend it back. After you draw your scene and you cut out the parts that you want to pop out, then you get a separate piece of paper that's maybe colored if you have it. This is like a gray piece of paper, and glue it onto the other piece of paper. If you just have white paper, you could glue it onto white paper and then maybe color in underneath. Or if you color the whole scene, then you could leave underneath white. And then what I did was underneath the ocean, I wrote my descriptive phrase, so it pops out. Underneath my cliffs, I wrote my descriptive phrase about cliffs. Underneath my tree, the descriptive phrase about trees. This is one way to make a 3D pop-up poem. Another way I've been working on would end up looking like this. So it's more of a traditional pop-up. I will show you how to make it. You would just need a piece of paper, scissors, glue or tape, and something to write with. So you can see I've already made my tree and I wrote my descriptive phrase next to it. Over here are some smaller pop-ups that I can make mountains, cliffs, or water on. So let me show you how to make this. Oh, and on the bottom I wrote Acadia, because that's the national park I'm doing. If you want to make this second kind of pop-up poem, what you would do is take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and then depending on how many things you want to pop out, you will make some cuts. So if I just want something that pops up with one pop-up, I'm going to make one cut and then a second cut right next to it that's about the same length. Can you see? And then once you open it up, if you open it at a 90-degree angle and then use your finger to push the little piece that you cut out and give it a pinch on the crease that is already there, it will now be like a square kind of, and it will pop out. It looks like this. I'm trying to find a way to show you that makes sense. It'll look like that from the side. And then on the flat part, you can, oh, and if you want to flatten it this way, that works, so that when it stands up, it pops out. On the flat part, you can glue cutouts, like I made a cutout of a tree, cut it out of a piece of paper, and then glued it to this flat part so that it stands up. You could do a tree, you could do a mountain, you could do other parts, and then write your poem, your descriptive phrases on one of the flat parts. So these are your two options for making a 3D poem. If you are not interested in making this 3D part, whether it's the flat poem or this pop-up poem, if you do not have the materials or you're not inspired to do this, you can just write your 3 descriptive phrases about your national park and leave it at that. But I encourage you to at least try this. Sorry, you're hearing sirens in the background. I live near the fire station. Okay, hopefully you have a good understanding of what you need to do. You're going to read about a national park. You are going to notice what you see, come up with at least 3 descriptive phrases telling about what you see, and then you're going to turn it into a 3D poem if you so choose. You can do the flat 3D poem where you draw a scene and cut into it, fold back parts that can pop out, or you can do this option where you take the piece of paper, fold it in half, and make 2 cuts for each pop out, and then shove your finger into it and pop it out. So these are your options. I hope that you have fun creating your 3D poem. All right, writers, I wish you all the best.